Hey guys, what's going on? It's Christian. So, welcome to today's video. This video is actually going to be kind of like a Q&A. It's like an advice video. I'm going to give some advice. Hunker down. It's going to be a long one. I have been asking people when they email me, what's your biggest challenge? And a photographer got back to me and said what their biggest challenge was in their photography business. And we're gonna go through that. So, this is a great video to watch if you are having trouble with clients, having trouble with, how can I say this? If you're having trouble yes, with clients, yes, with sales, but really running your business properly and making the money you should be making. If you're like, I'm not making the money I should be, things aren't humming along smoothly, this is going to be a great one for you. Okay, so here's the email I got. It is a long one. The format of this video is going to be, I'm going to read the whole email to you, then I'm going to go down piece by piece and break down what I think is happening, give you some overall structure on what's happening, what can be happening differently, and then my recommendations at the end. All right, so here goes. My biggest struggle is being busy all the time, right? Busy. Keyword. Sorry, that was not keyword. Okay. I can't keep an assistant in the office for longer than 4 months. So I do everything by myself pretty much all year. They don't take photos for me, but they help do everything else. Designing albums, designing collages, make the easy photo adjustments, making promo stuff for me, running errands, picking up photos, taking photos of clients' walls, posting to Facebook and Instagram, book work, on and on. Everything except the taking of photos and final edits. I try so hard to make the office part fun for them, and I constantly compliment them with what they've accomplished, designed, and make sure they know how thankful I am that they're here. I grab us lunch, I buy them little thank you gifts, and I even give them extra money anytime they bring me new business. I think I'm a pretty awesome boss. Boss is in quotes, note that. Really, haha, I'm fun, pleasant, nice. But it's like once they figure out it's actually work and I'd like them to arrive on time, which is just 9 a.m. because I guess 8 a.m. is too early for everyone under 25, their words, not mine, and actually show up every day, they just stop coming in. The past 4 years, I've only had one assistant on one different assistant, sadly, in the springtime. Since my summers are less busy, I give them several days off in the summer, usually July and August, and need them back full time by late September. But nobody has come back to help me in the fall. Most find jobs during those 2 months off, and then all that spring training was just poof out the window, and they have to start fresh all over again with a new assistant during the busiest time of year. And by spring, that next year, they don't come back. And I have to train another person. So stressful. I need to figure out how to find a good office assistant, honestly, and be a better boss, even though I don't like that word. Sorry for the long email, but I'm just really struggling with being busy all the time. My first vacation in 11 years was last summer. That's only because I had 6 summer weeks off in a row without any weddings. Okay. That is the end of the email. Now, I do want to stay, before we get into this, I want to make sure that everybody knows that what I'm saying here, and if it sounds harsh, which I don't want it to, I'm coming from a place of love and responsibility and empowerment. So my goal with this is that you guys, if you see yourself in this, will hear the advice and take whatever you can to be empowered around it, including the author, because I know that they're probably watching this as well. So I want this to come out with love and compassion. And here's the thing, all this advice comes from a place because I know exactly what you're going through, because I've been in a similar place too. So with that being said, here goes, because it might sound a little harsh, and I just want to caveat that. Okay, so there are 2 main things going on here, and they're interrelated, and they are boundaries and cash flow. I have follow-up questions which are not addressed in the thing, so some of my advice is predicated on that or assumptions that I'm making, but boundaries is the number one issue. And I know from poor boundaries, I'm great at that. It's horrible to say, but you know, like a lot of being a photographer is the fact that you want to help people and be a bit of a people pleaser. I am naturally, so boundaries can easily erode, and that is clearly what is happening here. If we go like, there's like the top level, like what's going on, and then there's like the individual strategies and the tactics that you can use. Boundaries is, I would say, like the whole, that's the whole enchilada here. Boundaries, we're going to get into it. Okay, so I'm going to go in kind of piece by piece. In the part where, quote, they help me do everything else, designing albums, designing collages, making the easy photo adjustments, making promo stuff for me, running errands, picking up photos, taking photos of clients' walls, posting to Facebook and Instagram, bookwork, on and on, you know, everything except for taking the photos and the final edits. Okay, that is a bajillion things for one person to do. So, yeah, that's too much. Like, we're talking all the way from like running errands to interfacing with the clients to bookwork to social media. That's too much. This is a boundary issue. They have a job that is so huge and amorphous. It's anything you seem to be throwing at them at any time. That's really difficult, especially for somebody who's coming in at like a lower level job. You're asking somebody to basically like do all this stuff and prioritize and wear all these hats, and it's too much for one person. So there's that. Here's the thing that jumped out at me, and I wanted to say this. Taking photos of clients' walls. This freaked me out a little because in the kind of IPS sales process, if you're taking pictures of clients' walls, that should be you. That should be you having an interaction with a client. That is a touch point. That is a time for them to trust you more, to know more about you. You should be the one in their home, not your assistant. And that's also a place where you should be planting the seed for a larger sale. That's not something that your assistant should be doing. That's something that a dedicated salesperson should be doing, or you. You're not big enough that you've hired a dedicated salesperson, so that person is you. I just wanted to sidebar with that. Okay, so I want to say this. What's the job description? Like, is it everything that comes up when it comes up? I want to know, like, list it out exactly what the job description is for this person. You're going to do boom, 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 and boom. Okay? And here's my suggestion. I'm going to wrap this up at the end, but this is my suggestion on this piece is, because you're not so great with boundaries, make this list of the job description of everything they do and find a company that does that. Okay, so a company for your bookkeeping, a company for making designs for you, a company for promo stuff. You want to outsource as much stuff as possible to someone else who's responsible for management and staffing, because that's the problem that you're having right now. Hand the whole thing, the work and the problem, off to someone else. Okay, that is like my top line quick fix, is that whatever you can do that can be outsourced, outsource it. That is the number one thing here, because it's going to take some time for you to shift in terms of the boundaries and creating a work environment where you're getting what you want from your people. And I think that in order to address what you need to address in your business, to get your business humming and up to speed as quickly as possible, that part is just like, listen, you've got some internal work to do on this. That part needs to go to somebody else while you're doing the work. Okay, that's that part. Let's see where else. Okay, I try so hard to make the office part fun for them, and I constantly compliment them with what they've accomplished and make sure they know how thankful I am that they're here. I grab us lunch, I buy them little thank you gifts, and I even give them extra money every time they bring me new business. Okay, I like to think of I'm a pretty awesome boss. Really, haha, I'm fun and pleasant and nice. But it's like once they figure out it's actually work, and I'd like them to arrive on time, which is 9, because 8 is too early for anyone under 25 to actually show up. They just stop coming in. Okay, a lot here. So it doesn't need to be fun. Stop making it fun. This is people pleasing. And I'm saying this, I need to say this with like a lighter, more loving tone, but I get it because I do the same thing. And people can't hold a space for who you are in their life like that. It's very hard for them to say, like, this is the person who's my boss, but also my friend. You are the boss, applesauce. I want to not see quotations around the word boss. I want to see it all caps. I want you to feel empowered to be the boss. It is what they need. It's like children crave discipline. I hate to say it, it's the same thing with employees. They crave the structure. And right now, because there are no boundaries, the structure is all over the place. And also, because it's not like a boss-employee relationship, it sounds like, I think on their part, subconsciously, they think that they're helping their friend out. That's the vibe that it seems like. Oh, they're gonna come over and their friend, you're like, oh my God, this is what you do when a friend helps you, is you buy them a present, you say, thank you so much. You're paying them. These are your employees. You're giving them a solid salary. They don't need thank you gifts. I mean, every once in a while, great. And yes, cash if they bring in extra business, that's fine. But like, boundaries. They need more structure from you. Okay, now, with that said, I'm going to go completely opposite, 180 degrees the other way. Why 8 o'clock in the morning? My age does not start with a 2. I'm not 25. My age does not start with a 3. I know I look good, but nah. And if somebody said you have to come to work every day at 8 a.m., I'd be like, no. Why? Because that means people get up at 6:30 in the morning. Oh no. Here's the thing. If you're an early riser, great. What I would suggest you do is you take that hour in the morning before the person actually shows up that you'd like to be working and get ready so that when they're there, you can be like, here's your list of things to do today. You have clear goals for accomplishments for the day. Boom, go. Use that time for you to ramp up. Another thing I would say is that who wants to be coming in at 9 o'clock because that's during rush hour? Unless you've got something that has to be done, like a shoot or prep for a shoot that's happening later in that day. I don't know. You shoot a lot of weddings, so I'm guessing not so much. It needs to be happening at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday. Push it to 10 if you can, or 9:30, but be very clear about that, like 9:30 is the start time. That gives people time to do what they need to do. Maybe they need to drop their kids off at school. They don't want to be in rush hour. Just putting that out there. And this is like a weird boundary thing. Like, it right now seems like you're giving and then they walk away. But I have a feeling that part of that giving is also the fact that if you keep the boundaries really unclear, then you can ask them to do things that are kind of outside of the boundaries. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of, I'm not the most fun giving advice today. It's kind of, I wanted to make sure it doesn't come off as mean. Okay. Yeah, so my takeaway from that is you are the boss, own it. Okay, the past 4 years, I've only had one assistant, one different assistant, sadly. In the springtime, since summers are less busy, I give them several days off, usually July and August, and I need them to be back full-time in September. But nobody's come back. Most of them find new jobs during the months off, and then all that work goes away out the window, bye. And you have to start fresh all over again. It's the busiest time of year, and by spring, they don't come back, and you have another person. Okay, I hate to say, I feel you on this. This is so difficult and so stressful. But yeah, I mean, I just want to say compassion, like, I get it. You're just fall at such a busy time and then all of a sudden you're just like, wait, where did you go? Questions about this. So you say a couple things about how you give them several days off during the summer, and then you need them back full time, which means that they were part-time, and then the summer months off in quotations. Okay, what does this mean for them in terms of their cash flow? Does this mean that you're like, listen, is it flexible time? So you're like, I don't need you so much in the summertime, so your revenue's gonna dip? Because I hate to say it, with an assistant and their sole dollar bills are coming from you, you have to be consistent with that. And the thing is that if all of a sudden they get a dip for 2 months, yeah, of course they're going to go someplace else in their cash flow. If you're like, I'm giving you the same amount of money and you go away and you can just take a couple days off, but you'll get paid the same, okay, that's one thing. But if it's like, I only need you for 3 days because it's July, but then in September I'm going to need you back at full time, you need, this is the cash flow part where it's like your cash flow needs to be right so that then you can make sure that you're like, listen, I know that spring and fall are busy times for me and I sock enough away because I know I've got to pay so-and-so for 2 months. The other thing about summer is that this is when you should be doing projects that are working on the business rather than in the business. So you do have stuff to do in the summer, getting your promo materials right, getting ready for all of those jobs that you're going to have coming up in the fall. That's a big part of it. What about like cleaning the studio, cleaning up files, making sure your backups are all running properly? There is a lot of like how to run a business. This is also like, what did we learn from this spring? How can we implement this? What are our sales materials going to be for the fall? How are we going to like schedule things out? Like there is planning and stuff that can happen. Even basic, like we're going to pull everything out and clean. All that stuff should be happening in the summertime when you've got downtime. Yes, you want some time off, I get it, but there are things to do in the summertime. Okay, back to this person, and this is going to be the last part that I read from them, which is, I need to figure out how to find a good office assistant, honestly, and how to be a better boss. I should be doing a little voice for this. How to be a better boss, even though I don't like that word. Sorry for the long email, but I'm just really struggling with being busy all the time. And my first vacation in 11 years was last summer. That's only because I had 6 summer weeks off in a row without any weddings. Okay, so it sounds to me like you're busy on the work side. Yay. But yeah, oh my God, 11 years with no time off. And this to me screams boundary issue again, okay? Because if you're going to take 11 years off with no 11 years with no time off, that's a boundary between you and you. You're coming up kind of, there's a little bit of a martyr situation. There's a little bit of a work harder, not smarter situation. You as a creative need that time so that you can like rejuvenate and rest and let your subconscious process and let your central nervous system relax a little bit. So yeah, boundaries. And I think that like there's like a little there, that screams martyrdom to me. There's a red flag there on that. The other thing about this is that you are the boss, and that's what they want from you. They want leadership and structure. They want to know like you've got it. They know what to do when they show up. It's not just going to be like, "Rah, what do I do today?" They want to know like, I'm going to go to this job and this is what I'm going to do, and boom, 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 because they want to do it well. Okay, and if they don't have the structure, they won't be able to do it well because it's going to be different things all the time. It's going to be too much for them. Okay, so we've talked about the boundaries between like in the office, but I want to talk about the boundaries between you and your customers, specifically in the sales process. Because I'm guessing that if your boundaries are this fuzzy and blurry with the people you work with on one end, when it comes to your clients and your sales process, it's probably those boundaries are fuzzy there too. And what ends up happening is that they'll ask you for things, they won't have a clear understanding of what the boundaries are, and then they're gonna go off and be like, well, I want this, and you're gonna be like, that's not what I do, or that's outside of my workflow. However, they asked for it, so I can do it, so I'm gonna do it because why not? I wanna keep the clients happy, over deliver, right? And I think that if that's what's going on, that's problematic. And it also makes me wonder what's happening with your cash flow, because good boundaries, good structure, good sales structure means cash flow. I have a feeling like if you were making 20% or 30% more on the back end, you'd be like, oh, okay. You'd feel empowered to keep an assistant busy over the summer. And ultimately, you know, time is a resource, as is money. And these two are resources that are really closely linked, because if you've got money, you can pay people to do things for you, and that gives you more time, right? That frees up your time. So I'm concerned about what has the response been that you've been getting from your clients? I mean, not like, oh, we love you, but just in terms of how easy has it been for you to work with your clients? Or how much is it like clients throw a monkey wrench into the mix? Which is how bad boundaries with clients show up, is that they ask you for something and then all of a sudden you're off doing a thing and it's outside your workflow, but you're doing it anyway. So yeah, I'm wondering about that, and I'm wondering how it shows up in the cash flow. Okay. Whew. Listen, this is all doable. You can work it out. You're busy. You've got clients. There are things that need to get cleaned up. Here's what I suggest. And you know what? Thank you so much for writing me. And I really hope that this is helpful. And I hope it's helpful for all of you guys out there who are watching this as well. Even if this isn't what speaks to you right now in your business, if you can take pieces of this away. Okay. So recommendations. First of all, like I said before, make a list of all the tasks that the assistant would do or could do for you, and then see how many of those can be formed out to a company. Also, I want to say include your post-production. Okay, so that is any editing or retouching, any of the post-production process. Also, I would love to see what your post-production workflow is. How regimented is that? How much is it like drop a client in and then boop, 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 boop? What is that workflow like? But as much outsourcing as possible. And I have a feeling that you're doing tasks that don't necessarily need you to be doing them. And it's stuff like final edits or big things where if you could create a system where you're managing that, it will give you more time and take away the overwhelm. Because also what we don't talk about is task switching. Task switching eats a lot of our attention. We only have a limited amount of attention in a day. And when you're like, I gotta do this, and then I'm gonna do this thing over here, and then I'm gonna do this thing over here, and then I'm gonna do this thing, that's exhausting, okay? So as much as we can minimize task switching as possible, the better. Speaking of task switching, I gotta switch back over to my list of recommendations. Okay, thing number four, if you're giving them flexible time during the summer and not paying them, why? Do you need to manage your cash flow better so you can pay them in the summer and keep them on? If so, please privately, the person who wrote me this email, let me know what your average back-end sale is. And if it's not enough, I can make further recommendations. But ultimately, you should be making enough money where keeping an assistant on as part of what needs to happen to make your business flow is kind of a no-brainer, where you're just like, yeah, no, that's what has to happen is I have a person in my office because that's what has to happen to keep this business running. You should be making enough money to do that. And that comes in the back-end sale. And that comes from boundaries. So, okay, thing number 5. This is kind of extra credit, but if you really wanted to get into it, I would say reach out to your previous favorite assistant, the one who left, and ask them, listen, and the goal here is to find out why did they leave and what could you have done differently. So have a candid conversation with them and get that answer. And the reason is we don't want you to do it again. We want you to learn from this. And sometimes you just got to go to the horse's mouth. Now, seemed like a weird conversation to have. Here's how I would frame it. Because the assistant is going to tell you something that they didn't like about you. And you need to frame it in a way where they're helping you. This is what I would do. I would say, listen, I liked working with you a lot, and losing you to another job was really disappointing for me. And I want to make sure that I can do anything I can to keep that from happening to my business again. So don't frame it as, I would actually say like, it was difficult for the business. That's what I would say. You could say it was disappointing for you. Do what feels right. But I would say, ask them and say, help me out, because working with you was great for the business and losing you was really difficult. And I want to make sure that that doesn't happen again, and it keeps happening. So there's something going on. So please help me out here. Let me know so I don't do it again. And if you frame it like that, and it's something that they're helping you with their business, they're going to be more likely to be candid. And it could be something as simple as, yeah, you know what? My income went down by 30% for 2 months, or I never knew what I was going to do that day, or it was too much for me because I had to do a million different things. They will push to get concrete things that you can fix in your business. Okay. Whew, this is a lot. Yo, listen, thank you for staying with me. I hope this was helpful for you. Yeah, great. If you have a problem that's going on with your business, if you're having trouble getting clients, if you're having trouble with your clients, if you're having trouble with your revenue, if you're just kind of lost, if you're really finding that you're afraid of certain things and it's holding you back, please do me a favor, let me know, and I would be more than happy to give you my feedback. And if it's something that I think could be more helpful to the rest of the group, I would love to, do a video like this As long as I don't want to be mean. See, I'm such a people pleaser. Like, I'm giving free advice and it's like, oh, but I don't want to be mean. We all do it. It happens to all of us. Listen, guys, thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. I hope this empowers you in your business. And if you have any questions or concerns, I'm always here. Feel free. Holler at me, Christian@thephotosummit.com. All right? Thanks so much. Bye. I never find the button. Bye.